Hello, hello. Some of my earliest childhood memories involving my father were of grown-ups pulling me aside to tell me what a great man my dad was and how proud of him I should be. Whether it was the Caribbean nurses at Scarborough Centenary Hospital delivering Jamaican beef patties to our home while singing Dr. Millman's praises as the very best surgeon to work with in the operating room, or whether it was NHL Hockey Hall of Famer Andy Bathgate pulling me aside in a sweaty dressing room to let me know how Doc stitched up his lip better than anyone else, or whether it was meeting members of Canada's legendary Olympic ski team, the Crazy Canucks, and seeing their respect and gratitude for my dad's care. But they didn't need to tell me how proud I should be, because I already worshipped the ground he walked on and was hard at work trying to win the love and approval of Dr. George David Duddy Millman. Mr. Strathcona High School, stellar athlete, member of McGill's Scarlet Key, star of musical theater, handsome Jewish doctor, marrying his love at first sight Danish beauty, reconstructive surgeon, sports doctor trusted by world-class athletes, provider and family man extraordinaire. He was a larger-than-life figure to so many of us. But he certainly didn't flaunt it. He was grounded and humble about his success, foregoing status symbols, and squarely focused on family and serving others. While many of the other plastic surgeons made oodles more money performing cosmetic surgery on the wealthy Toronto housewives, my father gained a reputation for being the go-to guy for repairing children's cleft palates, reconstructing fingers mangled by lawnmower blades, and helping disfigured burn victims feel whole again. Another defining trait of my dad's was that, like his father Benjamin before him, whose left hook was legendary on the streets of Montreal, my father was a tough guy. He valued that toughness and held in high regard those who stood their ground and persevered through great adversity. I remember how fascinated he was with Ernest Shackleton, the tough as nails Antarctic explorer, as well as his own wife's Viking ancestors, the hardened sailors of the North Sea, whom he himself tried to emulate on his beloved 24-foot sailboat that he'd forced his young family to sail with him on Lake Ontario. How Captain Duddy loved being at the helm of that boat, barking orders at his first mate Birgit and his reluctant deckhands Tina and me. Back on land, I witnessed my dad being just as tough, or tougher than any of his sailor heroes, priding himself on his ability to endure pain and suffering without complaint. Nose to the grindstone, taking it on the chin, toughing it out. I remember one time playing basketball with my dad. He was defending me, and in squaring up to the hoop, I swung my elbow and caught his nose and heard a crunch, and then looked at my dad, and his nose was completely crooked on his face. It took him about a second to compose himself, put his hands to the side of his nose and reset his nose with a crunch on the spot and start playing basketball again. He also was known for insisting that his dentist hold the anesthetic so that he could feel the procedure for every root canal or crown repair and every filling. He wanted to feel the procedure, but not a guy he wanted to mess with. That stoic nature and sense of endurance and grit served him well when at age 62, a career-ending aneurysm very nearly killed him. But as with all the other adversity he faced in life, and there was no lack of it, David persevered, gradually and gruelingly recovering as much as was possible from this life-altering blow that stole his career and his short-term memory from him. Nose to the grindstone, taking it on the chin, toughing it out. But he did have a fun, softer side. Despite being quite tightly wound, my dad loved music, and was a closet deadhead. And I cherished the times we traveled to Buffalo together, my dad wearing his tie-dye Dancing Bear t-shirt, to see the Grateful Dead when their tour passed close to the border. Though he wasn't overly demonstrative or vocal in his affection, he fiercely loved his parents, Benjamin and Sarah, his siblings, Jerry and Cheryl, and my sister Tina and me. And his quick wit and killer sense of humor was often on display when kibitzing with his lifelong friends from kindergarten, Bobby, Larry, and Lenny, and with his beloved cousin Donnie. But nothing and no one came anywhere close to his love for his wife Birgit, to whom he could often be heard whispering, "Jag älskar dig," which means "I love you" in Danish. He was clearly in his happiest place when he had Birgit all to himself up at Owlshead, at their ski house in the Eastern Townships. His devotion to Birgit and his love of family taught me all I needed to know to raise my own, and I'm forever grateful to have had David Millman as my father. So Dad, there's no need to tough it out any longer. You've lived a life full of meaning, service, love, and laughter, and your patience, your friends, and your family's lives have been forever enriched by you. Your job is done, and now you can let go and rest. Love you, Dad. And right now, my sister would like to say a few words.
I wanted to thank you all for coming, and the people who are on the live stream, I hope, for joining the live stream. My dad's lifelong friends, Larry Nashin and Bobby Rosenfeld and Lenny Waxman in Montreal, and his very close cousin and his buddy, his partner in crime and in comedy, Donnie Altman in Toronto. Thank you. They all went through good times and bad, and they have always been such a treasure to my dad and to all of us. My dad said to me one time when I was in high school or something and worried about social angst, he said, "Don't worry about everybody liking you, and don't worry about having hundreds of friends. If you come to the end of your life and you have 3 really good friends, then you're a winner." And he definitely did have that. So I've thought a lot in the past 22 years about how this eulogy might go, because I feel like there were 2 Davids, and which one would I eulogize? The one that he was for the first 60 years, or the one that he was for the last 2 decades? Most of you will know that my dad survived what is called a catastrophic aneurysm 22 years ago, and it was catastrophic. He almost died several times. The neurosurgeons told us he would never be capable of independent living. He was in a deep and unresponsive coma until an experimental procedure managed to stop the brain bleed. And then, as Michael said, against all forecasts and all predictions, he fought his way back. He made it home to his beloved Birgit after months and months in hospital. He got his driver's license back. He started skiing again, but he never got his short-term memory back. And he was a changed man, sometimes grumpy, confused, quick to anger. It was hard to go from being the smartest guy in pretty much every room to being the confused guy sitting quietly in the corner. I'm very sad that my dad's oldest grandchildren, my Emily and Michael's Benjamin, were only a year old when my dad's aneurysm happened. They don't remember how much fun he could be, and his younger grandchildren probably never met that version of my dad. They won't remember the stuff like how we all went skiing in Aspen one year and my dad would pinch an orange from the breakfast buffet every morning and then pull it out of his ski jacket at the end of the day on a gentle hill, and we'd toss it back and forth while we were skiing on the almost empty ski hill until the lift stopped running. They didn't get to know the guy who spent hours one evening explaining how a solar eclipse worked to Michael and me, using a slide projector and a blank wall and a bowl of different sized fruit off the kitchen table. I'm sorry they didn't get a chance to meet that David, and I'm so sad that my dad didn't get a chance to be the grandfather that I know he would have wanted to be. In many ways, we lost him 22 years ago, and this past Saturday, we lost him again, funnily enough, to a brain bleed. Almost as if David Millman, through his incredible grit and focus and stamina, managed to cheat death once 22 years ago. But then, in the end, on Saturday evening, it came back for him. He was quite a guy, and we will never forget him. Thanks.
Thank you so much, both Tina and Michael, for your really beautiful words about your dad. In just a few days on the Jewish calendar, we're going to enter the holiest part of our year, the High Holy Days, in Rosh Hashanah. And there's a lot of beautiful imagery that comes up in the Machzor, in the prayer book that we use. One of the most well-known is that we ask God to inscribe us the Sefer HaChaim, in the book of life. And there's something interesting about that phrase, that it can mean something a little bit different if we use a different way of understanding the word Chaim as the book of the living. We ask, as we understand in that way, that everything that we do is written down in the human record, not in some big book in the sky with God, but in every other book of the people that you encounter in your life. It's woven into the plots and dramas of human destiny. Every day we make entries in the biographies of our loved ones, of our neighbors, and our friends. And so this morning, as we close the book of life of our beloved friend, our father, our grandfather, husband, brother, David Millman, we can also look back and examine the entries that he has made in the books of the living, the impact that he has had on all of you. Michael spoke about his stoicism, about his inner strength and his reserved character. It's not, of course, only his character from within, but also a reflection of those books of the living that were imprinted upon him from his family growing up in Montreal. He was the first in the family to go to university. He achieved that incredible academic success, training in England in medical school, and it was in Europe where he met his beloved Birgit. He experienced so many exciting, interesting things in his life, but it was never at the expense of goodness that he could bring to the world in his actions, the loyalty at the heart of his character. His loyalty was felt by those friends I know who are joining us from Montreal and Toronto. The loyalty was felt in his love for his children, showing up as this great sports dad and standing beside you in all those moments of your childhood and adulthood. That pride was extended to his grandchildren, to you, Benjamin and Jesse, to Camille and Emily and Jacob. Though, as Tina said, he didn't have that experience with you after his aneurysm that he would have loved, he still showed his love for you in his way, and I know that it was deeply felt by you as well. Birgit, he was devoted to you from the first day he met you. Those letters that you exchanged when you first met, and then when you decided to make your life together, no matter where you lived in the world, you had one another. And he was loyal to you and you to him, in the way in which you cared for him in all of these years, in particular these last 20 years. For that, I know your family is also grateful. Sefer HaChaim, the book of life that was David's, is complete now. But the entries that he made in the living volumes of all of you, of his family and friends, they will continue to influence us, to inspire us, to guide us through the years. Zichrono livracha, may his memory always be a blessing.
Amen.
Continue now with the El Malei Rachamim as we ask that David's soul be bound up with God in eternal life. El Malei Rachamim shochet b'mromim Hamsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina Im kedoshim utorim Kezohar Akiya Masirim et Nishmat Gershon David ben Binyamin v'Sara Shalach le'olamo Bal harachamim yastirehu b'seter kenafav le'olamim V'yitzror b'yitzor hachayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Gershon David ben Binyamin Basara, George David Millman, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. We say together, Amen. I'm going to invite the pallbearers now to please come forward as we make our way to the gravesite.